Hey beautiful souls, David Essery here. Today I wanted to do a video that's been on my to-do list for almost a year in fact, and it never seems to quite happen, so I thought let's embrace it, let's finally do it today. And that is to talk about how the third eye works, and in particular the psychic senses. And I think this is a really important subject because I think there's kind of some myths around this, or at least possibly wrongful expectations of how it should be working that can leave a lot of people feeling disconnected if it doesn't meet up to this expectations. So I'm going to break this down a little bit as we talk about it, and hopefully it will help you guys to recognize what your gifts are, how do your senses work, and how you can get the most out of them. So really the third eye's role is largely about these psychic senses, and this is about how you feel, see, hear the world around you, essentially the energetic world, how you tune into it. So really it's so important because it is about our connection to spirit and how we feel when we're working with it. And, this is something that really requires a lot of practice. The third eye is like a muscle, really. The more you do it, the more you'll get better at it. And most importantly, the more you trust, the better that you'll get at it. And it's something that will evolve throughout your spiritual journey. As your vibration raises, your connection will improve. As you clear lower density, you will improve. And as we move through this ascension process, as this planet shifts and the vibration of the whole experiencing goes up, they will also improve. Now, there are lots and lots of sentient, like clair senses, should we say, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, etc. But there's four primary ones that I want to focus on today because they are the most common. And first of all, I want to talk about claircognizance. And this is about the inner knowing. This is when you have some kind of experience that you just know the answer to. Perhaps you hear about something and you just know whether it's true or not, or you just know whether you have to do something, or perhaps even you're just having a conversation with someone and you just know something about them. It's not like you've heard a voice in your head or seen a flash of anything, you just know it. This is claircognizance, and it can be incredibly powerful. But it also can be one of the hardest ones to master. And the primary reason for that comes down to trust. Because actually this inner knowing can feel pretty much exactly the same as just a thought in your head. So it takes time, it takes development, it takes practice to learn to separate the two, to know what's coming from within you, from within spirit or whatever, to just what's a thought of the mind. And really there is no quick, easy cheat sheet on how to do that. It just takes practice. But the more you do it, the more you'll begin to recognize that feeling, and the stronger that feeling will get, and that will help you to discern it. But really just trusting in it will massively help your development. If you can express that into the world in some way, whether that's, sharing it with your partner or your friends or whatever, just talking about that, or even publicly, that is saying to the universe that you trust in your own ability. And therefore, when we start doing that, we get more information coming to us. The strength of it, because we are trusting it, it becomes much stronger and it becomes much easier to use. Now, one of the other most common ones, of course, is clairsentience, and this is probably the most common. And this is really about our ability to feel energy. Have you ever walked into a room and perhaps straight away you can automatically feel the state of everyone in the room, or even the room itself? Or maybe even just individuals, you might be thinking, oh, that person in the back's really angry, or that person's really upset, or even that person's just a bundle of love and that's the kind of people that I want in my life. Or maybe it's, to do with when you're meditating and you're tuning into energies that you can really feel it. This is what clairsentience is all about. But the challenge with it for lots of people is it can be very overwhelming. Everyone really is born clairsentient in some way, shape or form, but many people shut it down throughout their life, in their earlier years, for instance, because it is too overwhelming to be able to feel everything around you. Especially when we're so bombarded by the news and all of these different things, if you're feeling the emotions connected to those things, it can be very challenging. But it can also be very powerful and very beautiful, to be able to feel the energy of an angel or to really feel love is such a powerful gift. And as you develop this, as you practice it, again, as you learn to trust in it, you eventually just kind of become able to tune it out, for instance, to disconnect from things that you don't want to and let in what you do want to, and it grows and it gets better and better. But as I say, it takes time and it takes practice. The next one I want to talk about is clairaudience, and this is where this myth, I think, starts to come in a little bit. Clairaudience and clairvisual, which I'll talk about in a minute. So clairaudience is about your ability to hear essentially spirit, whether that's your guides, the angels, the ascended masters. It's about being able to hear them, and this will often come in, like a voice that will deliver some kind of information to you. And this is incredibly powerful. Again, it can be hard to discern from what's, your own inner thought process and what's coming from an external source. Again, trust, practice help these things. But this is where the myth starts to come in, because you often will hear someone, maybe presenting or something like that, and they will say, that someone's saying this to me, or I'm hearing this, or whatever. And it's very easy when you witness that to think that they're hearing it in in their physical ears, in the same kind of definition as if we were just having a conversation together. And many people then think that their own abilities aren't as good and they're not as connected because that other person is saying, oh, I can hear this and I can hear that. But for the individual, they don't get it at that level. But the reality is, most of the time, there are exceptions. Some few people do receive it at that level, and it will be like a voice in their head, and they may be able to hear the tone of the voice and whether it's male and female and all of these different things. But for lots of people that say that they can hear, myself included, when I'm channeling messages, for instance, I hear the voices and I sit with a pen and paper, I open myself up to it, I hear the voices and I write it down. But I don't get that level of clarity. It's not the same as hearing with my ears. It's more like inside my mind, I hear those words and I repeat them back. And again, that's something that's taken me time to trust in that, especially sharing things publicly that come through in that way. But that is what really empowers it. But for the longest time, I would, see people, even my friends like Tim Wilde, hearing him say about hearing things. And I always thought that my gifts were nowhere near as powerful as that I wasn't as connected because I wasn't hearing it in high definition, in Technicolor. But the reality is that so few people actually hear at that level. If you are just, able to make out it's just like some words coming through to you, then your clairaudience is working brilliantly and you can do so much with that. So trust in that, run with it, use it, practice it, and develop it further. It doesn't matter whether you have that real kind of, as I say, high definition experience. And this leads me perfectly on to clairvisual. So this is exactly the same thing, but with actually seeing spirit rather than hearing. And, you hear stories of people saying, oh, I saw an angel or something like that, where they have these really incredible and, sometimes life-altering experiences. But for most people, it's not, again, that high level, that technicolor. For most people, when they say they see things, they're talking about seeing with their third eye, and it's like a flash inside. Again, I get this to some level, and for years I thought my connection wasn't strong because it wasn't clear. I didn't necessarily see colors with it or anything like that. It might be that maybe when I'm channeling something, a flash will come in of it with a location or a person or something like that. And it's not like I even see it with my eyes. It's more like an image has come in and I know what the image is. And that is clairvisual. That's how mine works. Sad to say, I have never seen an angel or anything like that. I saw a little bit of a green aura around someone's hands once, and I saw a feather brush up against someone's cheek. That's the most I've ever had from that side of things. But for me, what I see is inside. It's my mind's eye where I get these abilities. And yes, there are a very, very, very few people out there that do have these incredible technicolor experiences, and usually that's because it's something very specific to their pathway that they need it. But in many cases that can be a blessing and a curse, because just as it opens you up to see the light, there are other things in this world that we don't want to be seeing, that those people may have to endure. So it's not necessarily all that it cracks up to be. There's also other situations where it's essentially a divine intervention. You hear stories about people where they were, at absolute rock bottom and they didn't know what to do, and they prayed, and a being, whether it's an angel or ascended master or anyone, appears before them, and they have this incredible experience, and it's like seeing the person in the room. And, these scenarios are usually because the being that they're seeing has, of course, the power to manipulate their senses, to heighten them rapidly, to allow them to see them in that moment, because it's important for them to have that experience, to have that divine intervention to change their lives. And then, it's quite often that those people may never experience that at that level again for the rest of their lives. It could just be more back to that mind's eye type thing. As I say, the last thing I want is for you guys to be judging your own psychic senses because you think when you hear someone saying, I'm seeing this, I'm seeing that, that it's almost just like they're at the place, You hear people describing things about going into rooms and, the furniture and all of that. And in most cases, as I say, they're not seeing it with their eyes in that level of detail. It's more flashes of things that they become aware of, that they can feed back. And you do, I've done this myself on many occasions. When you experience this, you naturally do just say, I'm seeing this, I'm hearing that, depending on what you're doing. And if you're watching someone do that, if you're watching someone talking in that way, it's easy to think they're having that experience that they might not be. And as I say, for myself, when I was starting my journey, I always thought that my connection wasn't as strong as others for that very reason, because I thought they were having these amazing experiences. But what I've learned over the years from doing this and from meeting other people and stuff is that is very rarely the case. And what I want you to take away from this is that your gifts, however they work, whether you've just got one of these things, whether you've got multiples of them, whether you're very, very lucky and have all of them, that the way that they're working right now is perfect for you. The way your third eye has been attuned, it has been specifically done so for your pathway. The skills that you've come into this life with are to support you in your role in this life. This is what you are meant to have. Now, in some circumstances, people do develop them later in life, and perhaps as you develop one in particular, you may start to have others come in. You may already have more than one. That is actually very common. Myself, I have kind of a couple to some level. And you work them together. One of the great things is, for instance, like Clairaudience. It's very important with that to use your discernment. If you're hearing voices from coming to places, you need to make sure that what you're hearing is coming from the source that you think it's coming from, that it's coming from a high frequency source. And for instance, if you compare that with claircognizance, that inner knowing where you can say, yes, I know in my heart, in my soul, that that is coming from that place, then you're set. You know, the combination of those things. Even with clairsentience, that feeling that you get for them, do you feel love from that person? Do you feel something else that maybe you don't want to tune in, that makes you want to disconnect from it? Trust in that. Just trust, because that lack of trust is a block to your connection. If you don't trust in your own ability, then it will decrease your vibration, it will diminish your connection so you don't receive things as clearly as possible. So just work with it. You know, it's a development thing. It takes time. You practice them, just like if you were trying to build muscle in your biceps or whatever, you go to the gym every day or every other day and you'd continue to work, and over time it would get better and better. Your third eye is just the same. Practice it in whatever way feels right. There is no right or wrong way to do this. And as I say, there really is no rule book on how to do this. I can't, unfortunately, tell you, you know, how to improve your particular senses, other than just to go out there and use them, and most of all, trust in your ability, because your connection is perfect for you right now, and it is strong. You are connected. I guarantee it. Okay, if you're awake, if you're here, if you're doing the thing, you are connected. Trust in that. I really hope that helps you. If you've enjoyed this video today, please do like and subscribe. I share stuff like this, meditations, channel messages all the time. We'd love to have you as a part of our small community. Also, just as a quick shout out, next Thursday, the 15th of August, I'm running my free Lightworker Ascension gathering. And this is something I do every single month, where we come together as a group to set our focus, our intent and our love to make this world a better place, whether we are directing that energy to a particular situation or place in the planet, or perhaps working through some circumstances that we're all experiencing as a collective. It's completely unplanned, so we'll come together and just see what happens on the night. But that's part of the fun, that's part of my training and my trust to do that. So yeah, I'd absolutely love to share that with you if you fancy coming along. I'll pop the link in the description down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Sending you lots of love. Bye bye.